Good day, everyone. I'm Tom T. Moore. I'm the author of 8 books, and I put out a weekly uh, complimentary newsletter that you can find at my website, www.thegentlewaybook.com. I would appreciate it if you like this podcast. Uh, this is episode number 12, which is going to be Parallel Lives. Okay, there's 12 of them. So if you like this podcast, please subscribe and like. They tell me this helps everything to get watched. So with that in mind, um, as I mentioned before, there are 12 parallel lives that each one of us has for the 600 to 800 lives that we have on Earth. So this sounds really strange, but uh, Creator, uh, when when Creator decided to experiment with the four negative energies that had never been experimented before by any of the other trillions of creators of all the other universes, um, he wanted to analyze and see how the four negative energies worked at different frequencies. And so that's how the Earth experiment came about. So with that, this is some of the questions that I've asked Creator during my meditative sessions that I do every week, and they show up on my weekly newsletter that again you can find at www.thegentlewaybook.com, and I've got all 900 and more uh, uh, there for you to explore by simply clicking on articles and news. So with that, um, these are some of the questions that I've just recently asked Creator. Creator, had you already decided on 12 parallel Earths before our souls volunteered for the Earth experiment? Yes, I know I needed to see the differences of the four negative energies at different frequencies. Then I put out a call for souls who had achieved the highest vibrational levels on their planets to participate. Why did you wish the 12th timeline Earth, which I've been told that before, to be non-physical? Again, it was to test the four negative energies at their highest levels. No other creator had tested these four negative energies in the past. Keep in mind, our universe and all the trillions of other universes were all created in the 10 positive energies. And our scientists don't even know they exist. And in a few hundred years, or a few thousand, whichever, when we start going to other planets, um, after we learn how to portal hop, which is how the ETs get here, um, we're going to uh, to see these 10 positive energies, and they have other energies associated with these 10 that will be completely different than these four negative energies. Um, After the Earth experiment is finished, will there be one Earth? And if so, on which timeline will you choose? We're on timeline number 6, and I'll get into that in a minute. They will be all folded into one that will be at the level of the rest of the universe. What will happen to all the animals and fish? Again, they will be folded into one. They will not be destroyed, but simply merged together. This is quite complicated for you and all humans to understand at this time. You may call it quantum physics as best to describe it. The special space-time continuum will be no more, but like the rest of the universe, there will exist remnants of the four negative energies, but just a little more on Earth for the visitors to experience, because Earth will become a tourist attraction after all of the humans that took part, or I should say, all the souls that took part in the Earth experiment, all return back to our home planets, and that will happen in 7,000 years. Although there will be, by the time 7,000 years uh, gets here, there will be only a few hundred people left. So and I've kind of discussed that in some of the other podcasts. Keep in mind, this is podcast number 12, so you might want to go back and check out some of the other podcasts I've already done. So let's kind of get in to these uh, parallel lives. They're called timelines, okay? And the 12 are divided into fours. So in other words, 1 to 4, 5 to 8, and 9 to 12, and that they're divided into. And then they're subdivided into 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, which is us, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, and 11 and 12. Now, in between the fours, there's a big jump in frequency. In between each of the twos, there's a smaller jump, a smaller difference in frequencies, is how it's been described to me, being a non-scientist. Keep that in mind. Okay, so um, the lower timelines have harder lives, and the upper timelines have easier lives. So what does that mean? Well, uh, as an example, on the upper timelines, the Vietnam War did not happen. They were able to settle their differences and there was no war. That affected my life, and I'll mention how soon. And because I'm going to give you examples of my parallel lives that I know about so far. So the Vietnam War did not happen. Another thing that I found interesting, since I loved the Beatles music and so on, that John Lennon was not assassinated in New York as he was in all the lower timelines. On the upper timelines, he lived, and he and Paul McCartney have continued, at least the last time I asked, to write songs together. So I thought that's nice. So the upper timelines have these easier lives. Now again, we're on timeline number 6, so we're in the middle frequency. And to perhaps answer a question that you'll have, every single one of the lives on Earth we will have will be on timeline 6. We would not want to, as an example, have to balance a life that we did something wrong or bad or whatever on timeline 5 or even timeline 7 or 8, whatever. We only want to be able to balance uh, the timeline 6 lives, and that's how we do it. So um, all of our lives, all 12 Tom's lives began at exactly the same moment in time, the same minute in time, and also the exact same place. So, as an example, I was born in Dallas, Texas, in a suburb called Oak Cliff. Okay, so every one of the 12 of us were born in Dallas, in Oak Cliff, and at the exact minute in time. After that, our lives diverged. Um, so, timeline 12, as I mentioned, is non physical. And I kind of, all of our lives on Earth, all of the other 11, are all judged against the timeline 12 life, non physical, because that's considered the perfect life, and all the others are compared to timeline 12. Now, also something I found interesting, most of the inventions and great ideas and everything start on the upper timelines and they gradually work their way down to the lower timelines. So, um, now my timelines. Um, just to give you an example, and keep in mind, I have not dwelled on these. I've just asked questions over a long period of time, which you can do. Keep in mind, everyone has the pineal gland in the back of your head, and you can, in a meditation, ask to speak to whomever you wish to speak to, such as your own guardian angel. My guardian angel, I named Theo when he told me humans can't pronounce um, angelic names. And you can speak to Creator. I call him Creator because he's first of all, this word is accepted in all the major religions. And this podcast goes out, and lots of people of different religions will watch this. So I like to use the word creator that's accepted by everybody. There's lots of names for creator, but it's all the same being. Okay. So um, it's uh, to get more into my timelines on timelines 1 and 2, 20 years or more, uh, maybe more than that. I uh, I died from congestive heart failure. Okay. So now on the timelines above that, I lived. Okay. On this particular timeline, I found out just accidentally. I'd been coughing and not feeling very good. So I went to my doctor to find out. And his office was in a hospital. And he said, Tom, he said, you're going to go downstairs and check yourself in into the hospital. You have congestive heart failure. So that's how I found out. Maybe all the other timelines found out the same way, or uh, maybe the upper timelines were having regular checks and they didn't have to go through what I did. Who knows? I didn't, I haven't investigated it that far. On timelines 3 and 4, now uh, on this timeline and even some of the other uh, timelines, probably 8 through 4, I uh, got into the tour business. That was my first successful business. And I, uh, but I stay in those two timelines, I stayed in the tour business instead of selling that business and getting into the international film and TV program distribution business. So on timelines 3 and 4, my wife and I divorced. Both of us remarried. I was also divorced by my second wife, and she married the man that she eventually also married on timeline 6. And on both of those timelines, or maybe the three, um, he committed suicide. So those are some of the similarities, but as you see, again, these lives differ. On timelines 5, 6, 7, and 8, my wife and I have been married for many, many, many years, and we have 2 children. Um, when I went to TCU, I uh, majored in finance, got my degree in finance, thinking, well, I wanted to make $1 million before I was 30. I thought, well, I must need finance. I really probably should have chosen marketing, but you never know when you're a kid. And uh, but I, uh, we did well in that business, but along about 1981 or two, we wound up selling that tour business to a conglomerate from Chicago. We had built it up to a wholesale tour business with over 3,000 travel agents selling our tours nationwide. We were the second largest tour operator in the United States to the Cayman Islands, as an example, and had many tours going elsewhere. Um, so we wound up selling that business, looked around to see what I might get into, and I had uh, been introduced to film and TV, tried to be an actor, found out I wasn't very good. I was going to have to really do a lot of work, plays and things like that to get better. I chose not to, but I enjoyed the business aspect of it. And so I went into international film distribution, and that's where I've been for over 40 years. So um, it's uh, and I've even participated in preparation for some things that are supposed to be coming along. That I was listed as executive producer in some super low budget films, and to get some experience in doing that. So then that's uh, how it worked on these timelines. When I was at TCU, I had a girlfriend, and but while I was in Korea, um, I had to sign a contract for ROTC to become a lieutenant for 2 years. It was 2 years at that time. I think they've increased it maybe to three now, but for 2 years, I um, I was in ROTC, graduated, and was sent to Korea as part of the peacekeeping force. And my girlfriend at TCU sent me a Dear John letter. Now, on the upper timelines, things were different. So, because there was no Vietnam War, I got my degree in English, and I married her, the girlfriend. We moved to Colorado, and I started writing books and articles and what have you, science fiction, and eventually spiritual. But we just didn't get along, and she divorced and moved back to the East Coast with, I believe, we had two children. Not quite sure on that. So, um, and somehow or other, I wound up coming back here to this area and meeting my wife and marrying her. So that's that's kind of the difference as you see from timeline to timelines. Um, there are certainly these are things that you can find out for yourself what your parallel lives are by simply just learning to meditate. And it can be so easy. I recommend you going to like Amazon or wherever you buy books and things, and enter Dick Sutphen, Sutphen, and look for his spirit guides audio. Now, it used to be that he had CDs, but they don't have any those anymore. They only do audios. They're very inexpensive. These are perfect for beginners because he safely takes you down into an alternate state, not somnambulistic. Anytime you can open your eyes and come out of it. But he takes you down, and then he's quiet, and he says, now you can ask some questions. So you can have a whole little list of questions until he comes back on, and then he'll come back on and he'll bring you back up to full being full awake. So I don't make any money for that recommendation, but I just think that that particular audio is perfect for beginners if you wish to start meditating and starting asking questions on your own. I'm told I'm the only person in the world that takes questions from anybody in the world. So if you go to my website at www.thegeneralwavebook.com, and you can sign up for the complimentary newsletter. It's my gift to the world. Um, you can uh, you can on that very first page you can sign up for the newsletter just by entering your email address and your name, and it'll send you back a notice that it's uh, this is really you, and did you sign up for the newsletter? So with that, I'm going to close out. Hope you enjoyed it, and perhaps in the next podcast, we'll take up um, uh, past, present, and future lives. Thank you for watching.